Hello, everybody, and welcome to the TeacherCast Educational Broadcasting Network. This is the TeacherCast Podcast. Welcome, everybody. My name is Jeff Bradbury, and thank you so much for joining us. Today is Adobe Day. Today we're talking all about Adobe and Adobe Education. I have a fantastic guest on the show today named Matt Niemitz, and he's going to talk to us all about the Adobe Education Exchange and how you can be an Adobe educator. There's, of course, several great ways that you can reach out and join us on the podcast each and every week. We love it when you follow us on Twitter at TeacherCast. Leave us a voicemail over at teachercast.net/voicemail. Email us at feedback@teachercast.net, and all of our shows can be subscribed on audio or video over at teachercast.net/iTunes and teachercast.net/YouTube. Today is going to be a show that I've been waiting for a long time. Finally getting a chance to talk to some great people over at Adobe. I want to bring on Matt. Matt, how are you today? Welcome to the show. Welcome to the TeacherCast podcast.
I'm doing really well. Thanks for having me, Jeff.
Thank you so much for being here. What is new and exciting at Adobe?
Well, there is always something great happening at Adobe, and I think that's mostly because we work with students and teachers who are doing some really amazing creative work in the classroom, and it's just awesome and a privilege for us to get to see what's happening every day and how these educators and students are using our tools in really unique and compelling ways.
And Adobe in the last couple of years has gone through a transformation. We used to think of Adobe, and even I remember a couple of years ago, I bought my copy of CS4 and CS5, and it came on these discs. And now Adobe has made it not only affordable, but it has a great solution for schools, teachers, students, anybody to have all that data, all those applications cloud-based.
That's right. The Creative Cloud really opens up access to a lot of people that maybe couldn't afford Adobe software in the past. And I think the best part about it is that it keeps everyone up to date on the absolute latest versions of what is really the industry standard software for graphic design and video production and web design and animation and all kinds of other photography, obviously, all kinds of other creative fields. And on top of that, there's all kinds of really cool online services, things like Behance, where educators and students and creative professionals can be a part of a creative community there. And all these cool syncing file storage and libraries and more than we can talk about here. But the Creative Cloud ecosystem is pretty incredible, and our customers love it.
Now, there's a lot of school districts that are out there using the Creative Cloud. I just have to ask you, what types of things are you seeing school districts, teachers, and most importantly, students doing with applications like Photoshop and Premiere and all those great solutions that Adobe has to offer?
I mean, they're doing everything that our creative professionals are doing. So we see the use cases across the spectrum from the career and technical education space, where students are really learning how to be the next generation of graphic designers or video production specialists or digital media experts. But then you also see science teachers and history teachers having their students create documentaries for a history class or a poster about a historical subject, a science report in a digital format. Our tools can be used to express ideas in a really visually stimulating way. And so students are really engaged by that kind of learning and that kind of activity. And so the project-based learning aspect of how our tools really fit into the curriculum is a really seamless fit and creates some amazing work that students can be really proud of.
Now, I know, and correct me here, you can still purchase the Adobe suite or Adobe products on disk. What would be an advantage to having disk, or what would be an advantage to having it in the cloud? Is the performance the same, or would that depend on what type of device or network you happen to be in at a particular time?
Yeah, so I mean, it's a common misconception that Creative Cloud means that you're actually using Adobe software on the cloud. In fact, you're downloading the application to your computer, and it's very similar to the way that it was done when you installed it from a disk. It's really the cloud that provides the services on top of that software that make it that much more valuable and connects you to the greater ecosystem of the services that Creative Cloud provides. So it's not that different, and except for the fact that you now have access to the greatest and latest versions. And Adobe is an extremely innovative company. We're coming out with new features, new capabilities within all of our tools as often as every month. So if you choose, you can update as frequently as every month and get the latest tools to be using, which is important when you're trying to keep up with the trends of industry that are moving at a really rapid pace, and you want to prepare students to be successful in that kind of an environment. You need to be teaching them the latest tools.
You know, we're talking today about Adobe Education Exchange, and this is really a great spot here where teachers can come to learn different ways of using Adobe products, different techniques. There's a huge community of over 271,000 members. And talk to us a little bit about this. I know you're the guy that came up with this concept of the Education Exchange. How did this whole thing come about?
Yeah, it's the Education Exchange is something that we're really proud of at Adobe, and it's really was born out of a desire to be able to provide the level of support to educators that we felt like they deserved. And we know that there are educators doing incredible things in their classroom. They're teaching in really innovative ways, and we wanted to give them a platform to share that. At the same time, we really wanted to provide a broad diversity of learning and teaching materials that meet the needs of educators across the spectrum of how they're using Adobe software in the classroom. And so doing this work at scale just is incredible to see how educators are really differentiating themselves, showing the work that they're doing in a really amazing way. And we're able to leverage the power of the community to provide that support to, like you said, 270,000 plus educators all over the world. And this really helps further our mission of integrating creativity into the classroom, of providing lots of different pathways for how to make that happen, using Adobe tools in that process, and making sure that teachers have the resources, the support, and the materials to be comfortable in that process. So it's been a huge success story, something, like I said, that we are incredibly proud of. We started it in 2010, and it's grown like crazy since then. And we are continuing to make it a more and more amazing place to be, with more and more new opportunities to learn, ways to connect with others, better materials for teaching Adobe software in the classroom, and just expanded ways to collaborate with other educators who are interested in these same types of things.
Well, I want to pick up on a few words that you just said. You had said resources and discussions. And if we take a look just at your live website right now, which is edx, edex.adobe.com, we are seeing here over 8,000 individual resources here. But the thing that gets me here is it says 164 resources added recently. And I just kind of scrolled down and I saw many of them were made like yesterday and the day before. This is completely an amazing thing. And did you mention the cost to join this system?
You know, I thank you for reminding me, but it is 100% free, and it will always be free. It's free to join, and all the content on the site is free to access and use. So that is a huge benefit, obviously, for our customers and educators out there who are, you know, either dipping a toe in the water of Adobe and trying to see what they can do and using this resource to learn more about the options, or they are a power user and they just want to find out the latest and greatest new ways of using Adobe in their classroom. So it's awesome that it's free, and we are 100% committed to keeping it that way.
I like that quote from Adobe. It's awesome that it's free. That is good. And you know, a lot of this is coming up. Look, you know, I've been an Adobe fanboy for a while now, and we all out there know there's a certain professional training website company out there that does specialize in products like Adobe, and it's expensive. But when I'm looking at a site like this and I'm seeing Adobe's Creative Cloud 2015, and I'm seeing 675 comments on one thread, that is community-driven professional development. Speaking of which, I kind of want to just go through here a little bit. Maybe you can walk us through here. On the top, we have My Exchange, which is a great place to you know, it asks me for my website, my Twitter, my Facebook, so it really does give you the ability to build a profile here. But you've got resources, community, discussions, and then you've got this tab for professional development. Could you focus on this tab just a little bit? What does this professional development tab give us as educators?
Yeah, it's absolutely actually a really great place to start because we know that educators, the first thing that they really want to do with Adobe software is learn how to use it. They want to be comfortable enough where they can teach their students and direct their students on using it in creating projects. And so we provide lots of different ways to learn. And so we have courses, which are essentially MOOCs, massive open online courses. We have thousands of educators joining each of these courses, and they're over a set period of time, and they're created by teachers. So we work with teachers to develop the content, and they're targeted towards essentially most of them are about 5 weeks, and you spend time learning the tools yourself and creating digital media, but then all within the context of applying that knowledge and understanding how to use that in the teaching context. So this is really like by professional development that's by teachers for teachers. And like I said, we've had thousands of people join these courses and create amazing work themselves, and then use that knowledge to teach their students how to create similarly amazing work. The other options we have webinars, so 30 minutes to an hour live webinars that happen, at least once a month, usually more than that. And then we have on-demand workshops, which are self-paced and can be completed, in any time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. For those teachers that can't join during a specific 5-week period, they can learn through the workshops on their own time. So we really wanted to provide different ways of learning, different models for delivering the content that's largely the same across the three different options.
One of the tabs on here you have is Adobe Education Trainer. Could you talk a little bit about that project and what somebody needs to do to apply to be an Adobe Education Trainer?
Sure. Yeah, so the Education Trainer program is essentially our program that helps us scale the face-to-face training that we can offer on campuses at schools across the country, across the world. And so I mentioned those three other formats of professional development, but we know that face-to-face training is still something that is very common and popular and a great way of learning. And without the resources to train thousands of people ourselves, we wanted to do that at scale. And so we basically train our Adobe Education trainers to deliver really high quality professional development sessions that meet our standards of essentially focusing on creativity in the classroom and the importance of that, and how to get students to, like I said before, express their ideas in a really visually compelling way. And so the Train the Trainer program is again free for anyone to participate in. There's some requirements in the sense that they have to take a course themselves, and that's all online on the Education Exchange. They enroll in the course, they complete the coursework, there's assignments, there's collaborative nature to that course where educators are commenting on other people's assignments, giving their fellow classmates feedback, and participating in discussions, attending weekly sessions where there's discussions and more interactivity. And then once they complete that course, they are a certified Adobe Education Trainer, and they're given a toolkit of resources to help them deliver that training session that they designed throughout the course, the Education Trainer course. So it's an awesome program. We have, I think, something like 1,500 educators that have gone through it already and that are out in classrooms, in schools, actively training other teachers and students. And it's been an awesome way for us to scale, to scale up the training that we can provide for Adobe Education.
So Matt, I got to ask you the tough question here. Is that okay? What is your favorite Adobe tool and why?
Well, I have a fondness for InDesign, I think, and partly that's because way back when, before I worked at Adobe, I was working for a science education organization and created posters in InDesign that highlighted scientific concepts for the classroom. And so I love InDesign. I think it's really cool, all the stuff that you can do, but it's a close first. I mean, it's close sorry, let me start over again. It is only slightly ahead of Illustrator in terms of my favorite Adobe tools, I would say.
Many people look at Adobe and they say, "Oh my goodness, the cost." But I really want you to talk a little bit about here the value that it brings education and the fact that if you are an educator, you or a school district, you can really get this at a pretty decent price to be able to bring in to make your lessons to use. And Adobe for Education really is teacher friendly.
That's right. And I think it goes back to what I said earlier about preparing students for successful careers. If students want to be graphic designers, photographers, video specialists, they really need to know our tools. They need to know how to use them to get a job. And so that's important. But for those who don't want to be in those digital media fields, they still using these tools really sets them apart and gives them the ability to, like I said, express their ideas in a really visually engaging way. And more you're seeing that kind of a skill required in job descriptions from, lawyers to doctors to businessmen or women. I mean, it's really a skill that's becoming more and more in demand. So the value that we provide is having these industry standard tools, and then the Education Exchange on top of that really makes sure that educators and students are successful with the software and they achieve those outcomes that we really want to see from them and that we know are really valuable. So we think that justifies the cost that we provide. And like you said, we work really hard to make it as affordable as possible for education. And because we know that that's the future. Our students are the future, and we want to see them be successful.
The website that you want to turn to is adobe.com/education, and they've got a great layout here for students, teachers, administrators. I want to zoom in right here. $19 a month, $20 a month for teachers. You can't go wrong. That's one cup of coffee these days, right?
And we also have programs for institutions, both small and large institutions, schools, universities, to purchase at prices the same or less than that, depending on the volume. So, like I said, we really work hard to make it as affordable as possible.
Matt, I think it's a great product. I love the fact that the Education Exchange is free. Let me bring this up one last time. It is EDEX for Education Exchange, edex.adobe.com. Check it out. It is a free subscription. You can get onto it. You can spend hours on this thing learning how to find projects, how to help your curriculum, write your curriculum, get into the community here. Matt, it's pretty amazing. Where do you see this going, or where does Adobe think this is going to be in 5 years?
Yeah, that's a great question. We're working constantly to develop the platform further and make it even more valuable. And there's a couple areas that we're focused on, especially over the next, I would say, 12 to 18 months. One is around personalization. So we really want to know how to give people the content that they're looking for without them having to go through a lot of effort. We know that teachers have very limited amount of time on a day-to-day basis. And so if we know a little bit about them, what they're interested in, where they're teaching, what kind of subjects they're teaching, we want to deliver them the content that they're interested. We think will be most interesting to them, and just make that a little bit easier experience. So there'll be a certain level of personalization that's coming in the next couple months, actually. And then we really want to expand this on a worldwide basis. So we're working on figuring out how to localize the platform in other languages and make it a community that is as compelling to teachers who are speaking languages that are not English. And then I think the third area of focus is around the social aspect of this community. So I think we do the content on the site really, really well. One of the things that we really want to do better, because our educators and users are asking for it, is give members the ability to collaborate with each other, to have spaces and opportunities that really connect educators together and give them meaningful experiences online. So I think that's an area where we're thinking about what does that look like? How do we facilitate those kinds of interactions and really make this a social and collaborative space. So that's what we're working on right now. And I think the future beyond that is, there's so many places we could go, and it's really just a constant focus on solving the problems that our users, our customers have, and making it even easier to use Adobe software in education.
Matt, thank you so much for coming on here, and please invite yourself back anytime. We would love to have you on the program. Before I let you go, though, I need a little bit of help here. Where can we go to find out more about Adobe? Can you give us your Twitter account? Can you give us anything that we can go to reach out and contact you guys and learn a little bit more?
Yeah, so Adobe Education is on Twitter. It's at Adobe EDU is the handle. You can follow me on Twitter at Matt Niemitz. And then we have a Facebook page for the Adobe Education Exchange where we highlight awesome content from educators, what they're sharing, new opportunities that we have for professional development, awesome discussions that are happening. So that's a really great place to go to find out, what's the latest and greatest things that are happening on the Education Exchange. And then you mentioned our adobe.com website, and of course, become a member of the Education Exchange itself, and you'll get notifications and newsletters and be the first to know about all kinds of new things that we're doing. So I really highly encourage all the listeners to sign up today.
Matt Niemitz, thank you so much for coming on the show today. You are welcome back anytime. And check them out, guys. Adobe.com, Adobe Education, edx.adobe.com. Some great, amazing resources. I can't believe the stuff that they're doing these days on the cloud. Check it out today. Matt, thank you so much for being on our show.
Thank you so much, Jeff. It was a pleasure to be here.
And thank you for checking out all the great stuff happening here on the TeacherCast Educational Broadcasting Network. We, of course, have several great podcasts. You can check out our TeacherCast show, our live Tech Educator podcast on Sunday nights at 7 o'clock, or, of course, our brand new Ask the Tech Coach, where you can have an opportunity to ask your questions about educational technology and pedagogy to real-life tech integration specialists. There's, of course, several great ways that you can reach out and be a part of our show each and every week. We, of course, love it when you find us on Twitter at TeacherCast. Leave us a voicemail over at teachercast.net/voicemail. Email us at feedback@teachercast.net. And, of course, this show gets archived, both audio and video, over on teachercast.net/iTunes. On behalf of everybody here on the TeacherCast Educational Broadcasting Network, my name is Jeff Bradbury. Until next time, keep up the great work in your classrooms and continue sharing your passions with your students.